I think they're quite
up.
funny. Oh, I did?
So imagine this. You're a game developer. And
okay.
You've been working on the sequel to your most popular game for years. The original was a hit. Players loved it. Sequel's looking even better. And eventually, you drop it.
Okay.
But instead of celebration, your once anticipated game is now on the brink of failure because of a mistake you made.
Oh, wow.
Plummets. Your game drops out of the top 200 charts in weeks. People
wow.
at the company are quitting their jobs, and not because of a money issue, but because of shame. Giving public apologies and disappearing from the internet forever. Other
Wait,
companies
what?
that have nothing to do with your game are making public statements promising they never do what you did. Fans are harassing other fans with explicit content just for saying that they like your game. Which, oddly enough, that last one's unfortunately pretty normal for the internet. But not like on this, not on this scale. Well, that scenario was a real one that actually happened to someone. And it makes you wonder what kind of catastrophic mistake was made to cause this level of consequences. Like, it's gotta be bad, right?
This is possibly the dumbest statement I have ever had the displeasure of reading, and you made my life exponentially worse.
Was something wrong with the gameplay itself? No, game's fine. Was there a marketing issue? Did they say women belong in the kitchen by accident? Nope.
Burger King did that? What? Yo, I gotta text a friend and be like, yo, this is the company repping? What? What?
Were they canceled for getting caught stealing other employees' breast milk?
Oh!
Was a real one, by
What? What the fuck?
the way, and again, thank God, no. They did probably the most benign thing possible.
What did they do?
And it cost them.
Wait.
F.
What did they do? What did they do? Hey! They added one male NPC. Really? Is this what it actually... Chapter 1? How many chapters are there? Wait, what? What? Deadass fire intro. I'm not gonna lie. Fire intro. What an intro. Fire intro. 10 out of 10. Cinema.
Alright, so I'm gonna be real with you. You're up for sale.
Oh,
like
what?
Currently, like right now. No.
Me?
Like literally, I could buy you like a sausage McMuffin. You ever get stuff like spam calls, spam emails, or texts, you know, like this?
Because I'm 90% sure the DMV doesn't send you text messages from a Hotmail email.
I have I get like text messages of like my toll needs to be paid off, or like they're gonna come and retail like my car or some, or repo, sorry. So they're gonna come and repo my car, and it's like, I remember reading it and I go, I don't even have a car.
This is what happens because digital you is getting passed all around the internet like a fucking Netflix password. Your name, phone number, address. In some cases, literally your Netflix password, all being traded by data brokers.
Meaning your personal data is getting sold on who knows where, peoplelooker.com or something, I don't know, leading to all that spam you get. And in even worst case scenarios, identity theft. Now, despite being a YouTuber where I talk about my entire life, I personally like being incognito, at least when it comes to my data. But that is not the case, apparently. They got all my shit. But that isn't a problem anymore with this video sponsor, Incognito. Incognito is a service that goes to these data brokers and kills them. Well, they don't kill them. Upon request, data brokers have to get rid of your data. And Incognito does that for you.
Oh, it's an ad! Hey! W ad.
Before we get into this, there's
W ad! W sponsor.
I'm about to go with this whole thing. To start, I need to explain the term gacha game.
Oh God, of course it's a fucking gacha video, Jesus.
Now, most of you probably already know what gacha games are. For anyone watching who isn't chronically online, I have no idea how you found this video. So gacha games are typically free-to-play mobile games, sometimes with PC versions. But the term gacha doesn't describe the genre of game. A gacha game could be anything. Fantasy adventure like Genshin Impact by MiHoYo, turn-based RPG like Honkai Star Rail by
Wuthering
MiHoYo,
Waves! Mention Wuthering Waves.
Detective game, I don't know, man. Like Tears of Themis by MiHoYo. If MiHoYo made it, there's a good chance it's a gacha. But what really makes something a gacha game is the monetization model they use along with the game, which is usually just getting used as a virtual slot machine in order to get in-game.
We love Gamba.
So it's gambling.
Oh, no, Vivi, not at all. It's far more depressing than that.
Oh.
With gambling, you're spending real money at the chance of getting more real money. While with gacha games, you're spending real money at the chance of getting fake in-game items. Not even fake money.
Like winning in either of these can be considered a net positive, but one, in my opinion, is clearly more of a positive than the other. Now, there's this whole conversation around gacha games about whether they're ethically, well, the up or not. Like, these games literally use the same psychological tricks that casinos use to keep people addicted in spending. People losing their real life savings chasing fake digital things. There's tons of studies, laws being passed, and debates about how these games are basically unregulated gambling for kids and adults alike. It's a deep, dark rabbit hole that this video is not even remotely about.
No?
No. What I'm gonna get into might be more effective than the gambling part. Here's the thing. Despite all the differences in gameplay and settings between all these gachas, they all share one universal constant. That's how the gambling. What you're gambling for is almost always hot anime characters. That's the prize. That's what they're selling. And I'm dead ass. It don't matter what the game's about. We're selling hot.
I think it's a win. I think it's a win, chat. It's a win in my book, to be honest.
Anime characters. Fate Grand Order lets you roll for historical figures. Like, you can roll for famed killer Jack the Ripper, who in real life was a brutal murderer and possibly rapist. Now,
Wow.
fun fact,
What the fuck? Why would you put him in the game? What?
their posters reported that Jack the Ripper's identity was finally confirmed through DNA evidence only as of late. To be fair, definitely a man. Fate's interpretation of Jack, a little different, but I'm not exaggerating when I say anything. Azur Lane is about ships. They made the battle military ships girls. They don't care. It's gonna be a girl. These games don't just stop at getting you pretty characters to collect. They take it several steps further by often adding dating sim elements.
Fire.
Right. See, many gacha games let you build affection with characters by doing stuff like giving them gifts, having date events, and in a lot of them, you can even marry the characters in the game. Now, for most participating, this is just fun.
Can you please give me a random person to make an edit, please? A random person? Make a cool edit of... Make a killer edit of Schlatt.
Yet he is still banned in this channel.
That's okay. That's okay.
Hobbyism. Your brain gets the neuron activation when you see the bright light and you finally collect the...
Is it that funny? Yeah, it is. You don't know the lore, so it makes it funny.
A lot of them you can even marry
Chad knows
the
the lore.
characters in the game. Now, for most participating, this is just fun hobbyism. Your brain gets the neuron activation when you see the bright light and you finally collect the girl you've been trying to collect for 8 months. And even for the dating sim part, it's just a cute little fun thing. I can separate my sad real life from my fake life. Now, if you take a step deeper into the gacha community, it gets a little less casual hobby and a little bit more parasocial, which
does
I
it?
get. I've been there, as you can tell from many a video on this channel. But if you take another step, it gets a little less parasocial and a lot more little weird. What I'm talking about goes beyond actual fandom into legitimate investment and not just in money. Like, you're so into them, you're writing self-insert fan fiction. You're so into them, you're making RP accounts where you can pretend to be them. You're so into them, you're spending up to $90,000 to get the iteration of
Oh my god. 90? What the fuck? Why?
that character that you want. So into them, you actually want her to be your mail order bride. Or I guess in this case, a email order bride. And that's not even a joke for real. In China, there's literally a store for some games where you can buy real IRL physical wedding rings specifically for each character in the game.
What? This is like actually insane. Hello? This is bad. This is really bad. This is like equivalent to like the people... I don't even know what to say. Oh my god. This is horrible. Holy shit.
Now pause.
Okay.
I want y'all to think about that for a second.
Yeah, we
the
are.
The game company themselves are selling actual wedding rings for their fictional characters.
I would never go that far. I know... Okay. I say that as I have a shrine, like, right on the fucking right of me on my wall. That's like Rengoku. I would never go that far though. That's insane. Are you fucking kidding me? Ironic. I know. Ironic. What the fuck? My question is, how do they pay their bills? That's, yeah. Listen, he's a hot guy. Killer. 10 on 10. Perfect guy. But I'm not gonna buy like fake engagement stuff or like stuff that like the company, like if Demon Slayer, if the fucking corporation came out and said like, yeah, I make rings. I made rings for your lover. And it's like for like the different characters. I'm dying. I'm dying. If I catch myself doing that, I'm dying. I'm dying. I'm clocking out. That's insane. Hello? Don't worry. We will order the ring for you, so don't feel embarrassed. Okay. You'd be deep in the trenches. Not. You are not. She is putting on throne for us to buy it for her. I'm not doing that. I'm looking at that shrine and I'm like, I just don't think I don't think I could ever like do that. You know what I mean? I can't. That's like not even. I want to like actually marry somebody. Are you fucking kidding me?
This is not fans making knockoff merchandise.
Wow.
The actual company themselves. Now that part is especially important because sure, it does say some particular things about the people who play the game, but I think it says a lot more about the company people who make.
Yep.
Because a person who's addicted to a fantasy can end up there by any means of reasonable reason. But the person who provides an addictive fantasy knows what they're doing because they're banking on people getting invested.
Yeah.
Quite literally, in fact. You wanting their character forever and always, that is what they want. To the point that their entire business model depends on.
He called out a certain somebody. Dang. Dang.
Crumbs, they taking shots at you, man.
Their character forever and always, that is what they want. To the point
we can't
that
wait
their
anymore.
entire business model depends on their players.
What's up, Rob? How you doing today?
Characters that they'll spend obscene amounts of money to get them, upgrade them, dress them up, and marry them. Now, I want to make it pretty clear that this is not all necessary to say that I think gacha or games that attach you to the characters are bad. In fact, I've been sponsored by some of such games on this and other channels before. And I also indulge in said games sometimes too. The only thing stopping me from playing Nikkei, I'm gonna be real, is my reputation can't take another hit. But what I think is bad is that when the entity providing this fantasy is enabling it to a detrimental degree to gain profit. Like example, I love alcohol, big alcohol guy.
Yes, I love Crown.
It gives me the fantasy that I'm a well-functioning human being. And the person who provides that fantasy, like a bartender, isn't bad. However, the bartender becomes bad when they keep telling my drunk ass to keep paying for more drinks, even though I should definitely stop. So again, it's cool to have these emotional connections with games. It's bad to destructively extort based off said emotions.
That's true.
Right. So now particular gacha not only have a gambling aspect that keeps you in, but an emotional one.
Oh no.
That's where things can get scary for both sides. When you spend years telling your players that this character is theirs, truly theirs, what happens when the players start to think she might not be?
Dang, dude. Who is this guy? Fire. This is a fire video, I'm not gonna lie. We're only like 10 minutes in. I think it's really good. You know what I mean? Is it video essays? This would be like a video essay, right? It's so good. It's so great. Found you from that one clip where your laugh got complimented. 100% agree, by the way. So I came here to lurk for a while. Thank you. Thank you. No more. No compliments today, guys. None of that. None of that, okay? None of that. None of that, alright?
When you wait with me, I want you cry, yeah.
Fire!
The Girls Frontline series.
Oh.
Now, for those of you unfamiliar, Girls Frontline is a mobile tactician game set in this post-apocalyptic world where you command a private military company called Griffin and Krieger. I'm gonna say Krieger. Where you play as a military commander in charge of a group of androids called tactician dolls, or T-dolls for short. I'm not saying the whole thing every time. Now, these T-dolls are, quote, AI-piloted androids originally designed to serve as an easily replaceable fire platform for military operations, which is basically a fancy way of saying I
saw the one game, the Nikki game. I saw that game. I mean, listen, I'll be so for real. I didn't think that game actually had gameplay.
Don't finish too quickly. I'll do my best. I can't make any promises.
I was like, what? This is actually has gameplay?
Gave guns legs, which is not a metaphor, by the way, is literally the case, as each android is named after a real IRL gun. So we got stuff like Glock 17, Colt revolver, Jericho, Grizzly MKV, AK-47. It's actually a pretty complex
Sorry,
storyline
stretching.
with geopolitical points, conspiracies, and philosophical implications of artificial intelligence. Now, as you probably expected, though, Girls Frontline and Girls Frontline 2 are also gacha games, which is a fancy way of saying we gave guns boobs. So we have things like Glock 17, Colt revolver, Jericho,
Oh,
Grizzly
wow.
MKV, AK-47.
They're taking guns literally.
Oh yeah, and it got fairly popular. It even has an anime adaptation
What?
with an English dub out. Real fun. Now, because of this, the game has some focus, obviously, on the gameplay, but a lot more on your relationships with the characters. Even beyond that, you can talk to them, pose them, watch them sleep in their dorms, if that's a thing for you. According to the post that put me onto this whole thing, apparently a lot of the events have allusions to you being able to, you know, with the nights ending with special night training session, special exercise commander. Make sure you have the stamina for this. In fact, they push the relationship between you and the characters to such an extent that the game has an affection system that you can raise your affinity with each character when you hang out with them, give them gifts, etc. And if you raise it high enough, you can oath them. Where in the first game, you go to a church, there's flowers, doves, and you give them a ring. Now, one of the most popular T-dolls in the first game, especially in China, is Type 95. As she's based on a Chinese assault rifle, so she's got a strong patriotic.
I don't even think I'm allowed to have to say it, because like I think when I was in high school, middle school, babe, I fucked up my sleep schedule for a dating simulator. I'm not allowed to have a say in this again.
Appeal, I guess you could say. She's portrayed as this gentle, caring character who's extremely devoted to the commander.
Yeah.
Now, many players, particularly in China, had formed a special attachment to Type 95. A lot of them married her in game. They bought her merchandise. I mean, if this was one of those companies that sold actual wedding rings,
You know, most mess up their sleep schedule for actual dating, but you do you. Listen. All right, listen. Mystic Messenger was the shit. I was trying to get the good ending, okay? I wanted that good ending. I wanted that good ending so badly.
I'm sure they would probably buy those too. They'd invest not just money, but real
oh shit, my food's here.
connection.
Give me a second. Hold on. Give me 1 second. My food's here. 1 second, please. Thank you. Lock in. She called me asking for money.
That wasn't nearly what I was hoping it was.
That was the alleged egregious cocking that everyone was so upset about.
I thought
she
it
had
was
a
something
conversation
else.
with the man who liked her singing because it reminded him of his mom. Like, sure, there might be some Oedipus here, but brother. But the Chinese player base weren't satisfied with just taking the story at face value.
Wow.
This is where things get a bit wild. See, to them, the problem was twofold. First, the story felt ambiguous enough that they thought it was implying she wanted Raymond. And second, the player, that's you, wasn't mentioned at all during the storyline. The entire narrative focused on Diane and Raymond's mutual redemption with no reference to the commander during a 10-year time skip that the commander wasn't there for. Brother, what did you want her to do? Oh, you're a terrorist? Sorry, I have a boyfriend. Nick, what? What are you? But the player's absence was a major sticking point for the CN fan base. And to confirm their suspicions, some players dug into the closed beta test game files and voice data. And they found that in approximately 1.5 hours of Diane's voice lines, she mentions Raymond's name 66 times.
Wow. These people are obsessed. There's no fucking way. Holy shit. I would never think to do that. What the fuck?
And the player doesn't get mentioned once. In a 10-year time skip that the commander wasn't there for. But that's not even the worst part. Oh no. See, out of those 66 Raymond mentions,
50 of them were Diane calling him by a special nickname. And, you know, to get everyone in a tizzy like this, it must have been something super intimate, right? I'm thinking like a sweetie, honey.
For a reaction like that, Daddy is on the table.
Bro, the nickname was Mr. Raymond.
You gotta be kidding. You gotta be kidding. You gotta be kidding.
Now, there's a chance that the affection level for this name maybe got lost in translation, but like, we not letting our girls use formalities with other niggas no more? And some of these egregiously NTR lines that were cited were such scandalous things as, I just want to help Mr. Raymond. I think Mr. Raymond has carried too much psychological baggage in this incident. Mr. Raymond is here as expected. We not letting our girls use general observations with other niggas no more? But there's more. The event also mentioned that during the time skip, Diane had a job as a singer where she entertained high-end clients. The CN players immediately interpret this as a euphemism for, you know, which can I say is a double misconception. First, they're confusing singers with dancers. It's usually dancers who get that entertains clients reputation in the media. Second, even if she were a dancer, jumping straight to she's a prostitute is a hell of a leap. The only thing they're paying her to use her mouth for is songs. Now look, I don't know about y'all, but such a high level of despise in a response from an entire community over this didn't feel right. Like, with the information given, this is such a reach. There has to be something I was missing. Now, some CN players try to describe why this to them is justified, their feelings, which means you have to understand something about Chinese media and literature. I say as an American black man on the internet. I'm reading an article about this, by the way. They said this, not me. See, apparently there's this strong cultural expectation of unwavering loyalty in relationships. Like in Chinese TV dramas, if a male lead sacrifices himself or is presumed dead, the female lead will either never find another partner or will literally commit suicide to join him in the afterlife. Now, I'm not exaggerating. There are actual examples where a character will kneel for 500 years waiting for their partner to come back to life, or they'll jump off a cliff with their dead lover. Moving on. And I guess that expectation extends to fictional robot gun wives and Gacha games. And with that cultural difference in mind, I couldn't just listen to the story secondhand from someone who's telling me it. I needed to read it for myself. So after some looking, I found the literal, actual, roughly translated script of the entire event. And upon reading it, I do think they're tripping. Having read most of the lines now, I don't feel like there was anything necessarily romantic going on here. But to be fair, I only read it. What I didn't do was hear the spoken lines. And apparently, that's where a lot of things hit for people. According to Western fans who actually did understand Chinese and played it, to them, when spoken, it did indeed come off as romantic. In fact, allegedly, according to a comment that I could not find the source for, by the way, it said that the voice actor even mistook herself for speaking to the MC. Now, just in case I wanted to check this for myself, a CN player uploaded a minute-long compilation of her saying Mr. Raymond. Let's listen.
雷蒙先生，雷蒙先生，和雷蒙先生，雷蒙先生，雷蒙先生，雷蒙先生。
Okay, that does sound a little sexy, but I could just be racist. I don't know. Now, let's be real. There is a cultural gap here, and within it, an actual debate on if this is NTR or not. But here's the thing. That debate doesn't fucking matter. Because, and I mean this as respectful as possible, seriously, who cares? Let's pretend this is the worst case scenario, right? Over 50. That's the number of wives you could have in this game. Homegirl is flirting with one dude while you have your arsenal of women you're loading your clips in, you know? And even beyond that, it's clear this wasn't their intent. This was in the closed beta. This is literally the test realm for these things. And besides, we're not oathing another one of the 50 plus women in the game. You can just remember, this is a game. No one should care this much. But that's not their fault. Because whether with intent or not, the makers of Girls Frontline 2 has created a culture where they want you to care this much. They develop these relationships so you care about the characters and buy the merch. But when you care about the characters to such a deep degree and these cultural expectations are involved, that could hurt. So the idea that Diane had moved on during those 10 years when the commander was gone wasn't just disappointing, it was unforgivable. And this wasn't just a few disgruntled players. This sparked a massive backlash with consequences far beyond what anyone could have expected.
No, you can't.
Oh no, wait, is it actually this bad?
So the fallout from the Raymond incident was fast and severe. We're talking about a game that was supposed to be the big sequel to an established franchise with an anime just tanking overnight. In fact, in one post that reports the drama, there's actually a video on Bilibili documenting the collapse in real time that shows their revenue charge just plummeting. All because at the end of the day, a woman had a conversation with a man. And it wasn't just that players were quietly uninstalling the game either. Bro, this was a full-on community meltdown. Players were swarming the Bilibili store and bombing Girls Frontline 2 reviews. In fact, to this day on Bilibili, in the role-playing game section, it has the worst rating out of all the major games they're showing. Minus this one about pigeons. Action, meat, pigeon, cool tour. Bear in mind, this is Google Translate. A YouTuber named Anago, who actually plays Girls Frontline 2, made a video looking specifically at the Chinese player comments during this drama. And I have to show you some of these.
Really, go and ask. There is no man in the world who is willing to spend money to support other people's wives. Mr. Raymond took it off while I wasn't paying attention. I took medicine afterwards. I just made a mistake that normal girls would make. Don't worry, the child is definitely yours. Can I apply for a refund if I'm a minor? 95 is innocent. In my heart, 95 is loyal, reliable, brave, and tenacious as a warrior. Now the character of Diane is just a character holding a 95 gun. You really treat the players as fools to make money. Go fuck yourself. Mr. Raymond, Mr. Raymond, Mr. Raymond. I would rather see 95 sacrifice herself rather than become Mrs. Raymond, because she is not that kind of person. She cannot fall in love with a terrorist. She is a warrior who protects the people. This is not her.
But even crazier,
damn, oh my
this wasn't
god.
just contained.
Jesus, dude. Chat. Would you guys go this crazy if your anime waifu cucked you? Holy fuck.
To the Girls Frontline 2 community. Word of this legendary cucking spread across the entire Chinese gacha ecosystem. Players from almost every major gacha game started piling on, calling Girls Frontline 2 players green hats, with green hat being a specific Chinese insult for, you know.
Oh,
yeah. The reputation was so damaged that Girls Frontline 2 permanently became branded as the NTR game. In fact, you can literally go on Reddit today and find posts like, I still don't understand why people call GFL2 an NTR game. Like, yo. And it wasn't just players from other gacha games jumping on this either. It was game developers from other gacha games jumping on this.
Really?
Another gacha game publicly mocked the Micah team with a post that roughly translates to, what current players are angry at another company for doing, we will never do. Which is like, bro, who asked?
Yeah.
Under that post,
shut up.
Filled with Snowbreak fans piling on Micah and GFL2, continuing the whole, you know, narrative, which I actually find really interesting. And like I was saying earlier, says a lot about some of the gacha culture. See, this wasn't just an opportunistic marketing tactic from this other company. It's proof that this parasocial relationship is important to them. They actively reinforce this toxic idea that the connections the players have with these fake characters are meant to run deep, and that having their characters do something like speak to another man was not on the table for breaking their immersion. So the game's reputation in the toilet and revenue drying up, Micah team went into full panic mode. They knew they had to do something drastic to save the situation. So naturally the move was to rewrite Diane's story. And honestly, it should be an easy fix. There can't be any cucking if she's talking to a woman. Women don't like women. So they changed Raymond into a female character named Esther. But players weren't having it.
Because of the Raymond thing, but also because of some anti-Semitic stuff, it's too much to get into right now.
So they rewrote it a second time, removing the character entirely and scrapping most of the dialogue. But by then, the damage was already done, and players already knew the original story. So they rewrote a third side, and we're just like, they just remove the entire terrorist plot, basically saying none of this ever even happened. Now, after all this, the game director even released an official apology addressing the controversy. Like, bro, think about that. A game director had to publicly apologize because a fictional character in their game had a conversation with a man.
And you know this hit them because in the original post, one of the things the devs mentioned they would work on are the people in the copyright team. Again, maybe this is a translation issue, but I feel like usually that means someone got put off the project.
Perhaps the most disturbing part of this whole fiasco is what happened to Diane's voice actress. The Chinese VA for Diane was harassed so severely that she issued a public apology for
That's crazy, dude. There's no way.
voicing lines where she spoke to a man.
And the Japanese voice actress got harassed so bad that
Wow.
she went completely radio silent.
Wow.
No one could hear from her, including the studio that hired her to voice Diane. She ghosted them. And what's even shittier is that she was still pretty new to the voice acting community.
Oh,
In fact, this
no.
role as a character in a gacha game at the time was being cited as her biggest role. As it says in the wiki,
Aw.
Girls Frontline can be considered to be her first major debut work. That is sad. And according to numerous posts, she's completely done with that side of the community. So, a real person's career was effectively ended because a fictional character she voiced had a conversation with a man. New events in the game were then unvoiced for a period as they transitioned to a different voice actress. And it was clear that the ramifications of this had echoed through the industry. The eastern side of it, at least. So as I mentioned earlier, Girls Frontline 2 was just released in China at the time. And the game had pretty much critically tanked and not recovered there since. But that did not stop the global release.
Oh,
which
no.
happened a few months ago from this video being posted. And Girls Frontline 2 jumping back into the spotlight.
What is a bitch in a miniskirt?
Hey.
What is a woman that
Hey.
All right, so you'd figure after all that, Girls Frontline 2 would probably be dead on arrival for the global launch. I mean, the game's reputation in China was cooked. They're the cut game, voice actresses are disappearing, devs apologizing, like, brother, it should be a wrap. But here's the thing about the internet. What absolutely destroys you in one corner of the world, don't mean shit in another. See, the global launch of Girls Frontline 2 happened in December 2024, and it ended up doing great. We're talking 20 million downloads in the first month. And the reason the posts I found came up is because Diane ended up coming back on the global stage as it was time for her banner in the global game. And the Western player base didn't give a f. In fact, most people thought it was hilarious. Now, believe it or not, this didn't sit well with certain members.
Where'd it go? Why did my screen do that?
In fact, banner in the global game. And the Western player base didn't give a f. In fact,
next event story be like, wait, this is fire.
most people thought it was hilarious. Now, believe it or not, this didn't sit well with certain members of the CN community. See, they spent months establishing that anyone who played this game was a cock. And now here's millions of Western players just enjoying it. Some CN players commissioned NTR art of Diane to spam Western players with. They're DMing people who posted about liking
Wait, what?
enjoying it. Some CN players commissioned NTR art of Diane to spam Western players with.
Damn, dude. Wait, who's the artist? Who's the artist? Link the artist. I'm trying to commission them too. This is killer.
DMing people who posted about liking Diane, I guess to, I don't know, prove a point. I don't know. But the Western players' response was basically what you expect. All right, free porn. Which real talk is a devastating
Yo, I mean, fuck, dude.
What you expect? All right, free porn.
I mean,
real talk is a devastating.
Oh, it did. Yeah, it does say that. Well, NTR and SFW content with spam CN users who participated in trying to kill GFL2 in the West stopped after realizing Western audiences don't care and some enjoyed receiving free porn. Damn, dude.
So the harassment campaign fizzled out pretty quick.
Girl,
Hey,
I will cancel my sub so fast if you commission some stuff like that. Wait, whoa, whoa! Calm down, chat. Hold your tits, okay? Calm down. I wanted to commission the artist. I ain't gonna commission this cuck stuff, dude. I thought the art looked nice. Look at the details. Look at the details. Look at the details.
I guess
yeah, sure, sure.
I don't know, but the Western player's response was basically what you expect. All right, free porn.
Don't
Which
have any
real
Annie.
talk is a devastating counter. So the harassment campaign fizzled out pretty quick. To this day, Girls Frontline 2 is doing pretty good. In fact, they just launched a new character. It's not a promo, I'm just saying. I let her ruin my life, low-key. But that
Whoa.
is not all. Do you remember when I
That animation smooth chat. Wait, look.
Girls Frontline 2 is doing pretty good. In fact, they just launched
I like this character. She might be my favorite already. I haven't even seen the game yet.
a new character. It's not a promo, I'm just saying. I let her ruin my life, low-key. But that is not all. Do you remember when
Fire.
I mentioned Snowbreak?
Fire.
That threw shots at Girls Frontline 2. The company that publicly mocked Micah for the whole Raymond thing. The one who promised they never do what they did. Well, they did what they did. See, just a month after they were riding the high on dunking on Girls Frontline 2, Snowbreak released their own story update. And in this update, one of the girls in the game sleeps with the bad guy. Now,
They took it too far, chat. They took it too far. All right? It was funny at first. That's worse.
bear in mind, the reason they thought this was okay is because apparently it wasn't really your girl. It was a shapeshifter who shapeshifted into one of your girls and tricked you. But
Oh, no.
Again,
That's
the distinction
crazy.
didn't really matter. Within 12 hours, the Snowbreak community went nuclear. In fact, the devs had to do an emergency live stream
That's karma, dude. This is what happens. This is what happens, man.
where they profusely apologized for even
What's up, squad?
suggesting the concept that someone who looked like your waifu might sleep with
Dang.
someone else. Again, maybe it's with the Eastern audiences, but with this culture you
Let me
develop,
close the soy sauce
you
before
can't
like
be
it
surprised.
spills all over
Mike
my
didn't
fucking
set out
desk.
to create the most controversial gacha moment of the year. They just
Right.
wanted to tell a story about redemption and the power of music, you know, all that jazz. But they'd spent years telling players this character loves you and only you. But Snowbreak, they saw what happened to Micah and thought, we'll never make that mistake. But they already made it, and it wasn't even the shapeshifter story. The mistake was fostering a culture where your players feel so much ownership over fictional characters that even a fake version of them doing something with one of them is unacceptable. I'm not one to judge anyone for how they engage with media. In fact, I have been that guy multiple times. You want to marry your gun waifu? Go for it, gang. But there's something deeply fascinating about the deeper parts of this industry that profits off of loneliness and parasocial relationships, and then suddenly have to deal with the consequences of loneliness and parasocial relationships. These companies wanted players who cared enough to spend thousands on fictional characters, and they got them. They wanted players emotionally invested in these relationships, and they got them. They just didn't realize those players would expect the same loyalty back. So in the end, the Raymond incident wasn't even really about Raymond. It's about what happens when the fantasy that these games sell meets even the slightest hint of reality. And the saddest part is, like I said, real people's careers ended over this. That's the thing about these types of parasocial relationships. The feelings might be one-sided, but the consequences aren't. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this type of fantasy, but when you double, triple, quadruple down about your waifu loving you forever, it might be worth mentioning what happens when forever ends.
Dang. Dang. That's fire. Wait, this is a good video. That's crazy.